Hi everybody, and welcome back to Organ Explore. I am your host, Owen Sammons, and today we are exploring the organ at the Cathedral of Christ the King in Lexington, Kentucky. My special guests today are Gabrielle Manion, who is the current organist, and Organist Emeritus Brian Hunt. So as usual, pull up your favorite chair, pour your favorite beverage, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Organ Explorer.
The Cathedral of Christ the King is nestled in the Chevy Chase neighborhood, on the corner of Cochran Road and Colony Boulevard. The present church and rectory were built between 1965 and 1967 in a modern Art Deco fashion. It wasn't until 1988 that Christ the King became a cathedral, but you get the sense that those planning the church and campus in the 60s would see the effect that this church would have on the community and built plenty of room for growth. The organ's history illustrates this perfectly. As Organist Emeritus Brian Hunt will outline in the episode, the original organ by Wicks was only 18 ranks of pipes, but the space allotted for the instrument was big enough to house a proper cathedral organ. Thanks to Brian and music director Robert Whitaker, the cathedral was finally able to fill the organ chamber with a fully realized instrument by Randall Dyer in 2012. First, we'll hear from current organist Gabrielle Manion about her time here at Christ the King. Then Brian Hunt will tell us a little more about the organ and how it came to be.
I'm here at the console with Gabrielle, so tell me, how long have you been here at the Cathedral of Christ the King?
I've been here for 4 years. During that time, I have spent a lot of time on this bench,
I imagine.
which has been really beneficial for me.
Good. So what do you like particularly about this instrument?
Well, I'm going to echo Brian. I love the strings on the choir, the Erzählers. Anyone who comes to church here hears me play this exact registration basically every day before Mass. That's the oboe. So those are two of my favorites. It's so simple. This organ has such a range of dynamics, but I've been really warming up to the trumpet on the swell. Yeah.
So Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about this organ and how it came to be?
Currently, what we have here at Christ the King is a 3-manual and now 44-rank instrument built in 2012 and installed in the end of 2012-13 by Randall Dyer and Associates of Jefferson City, Tennessee. It is still fairly new to this building. The original instrument was a 2-manual 18-rank Wicks, which came about in November of 1966. This building was finished either in late 1965, early 66. So it was wonderful that they chose to have a pipe organ then, but for a building that seats almost 1,000 people, it really was undersized, especially when you had a full congregation and perhaps a brass quartet. I can remember times where I could barely hear the organ and I was just separated a few feet away. So in about 2009 and 10, the cathedral was going through a period of renovations, and the music director, Robert Whitaker, and I at that time were able to successfully propose and lobby to have included in the renovations this wonderful instrument, to where Now the cathedral has an organ worthy of the size and space of the instrument, but it was a bit of a challenge. We were very fortunate that it didn't get chopped from the overall scope of the renovations, because as it went on further, the project was starting to have cost overruns. And had we not had the organ contract already signed and a down payment paid, this would not have been here.
Signed, sealed, delivered. Well, almost delivered.
So we were very, very fortunate to have things fall into place the way they did, and consequently now have this glorious instrument to offer to the cathedral community and the community at large.
All right, Brian, so why don't you give us a sample of what's going on here?
All righty, we'll just look through some various stops. The principle on this is a really nice, in general, the organ is pretty good, largely scaled. I mean, to a better degree than what we had before. So here's just the principle 8. And then you can contrast that with lovely strings.
Beautiful.
But the organ has just a really nice, you can build a plenum chorus on every division really quite well. So, I mean, you can start from the swell, you have an 8-foot Geigen principle. Adding a 4-foot octave. And then a 2-foot. Finally, a 3 to 4 rank mixture. I'll get it. I guess I should demonstrate each of these with their boxes open so you can hear that again. So you have that, and then on the choir we have a Holzgedeckt that I've played before.
That's from Wix, right?
And then we'll put with that, I guess really for the independent chorus, the 8-foot violon would be the better choice. And then with the 4-foot principal, adding a 2-foot, then we have, interesting, a double draw. This 1 1/3 is actually a part of the 3-rank mixture.
Okay.
If you use it by itself, it's not quite the full brilliance of when you bring on the
I'm a big fan of parsing out those mutations. They're so useful, just like that. They really give a shimmer to everything.
And we're fortunate to have at least 1 mutation in the choir and then 2 plus in the swell. So over here, so like on the swell, I used to love playing this arrangement, an 8-foot 2 2/3 and a 1 3/5 with a tremulant, and then that gedeckt by the wicks before, so that you had But, I mean, that kind of gives you, and I mean, if you added a 2-foot in it, more or less of cornet,
yeah.
And you've got Canis Firmus for all of the Orgelbuchlein and the like. But,
very nice.
so those are just some of the good combinations to kind of show off the trumpet and the swell. I have just a little bit of this. Let's see, just one. People that listen to With Heart and Voice might happen to recognize this. Thanks to that show, I finally found or got the music to and start working on this piece. It's a great addition to the wedding repertoire.
Isn't it? Yes, it is exactly. Yeah, well, and you have the reeds and you have the principals to play it, so that's fantastic.
That just kind of in a nutshell. I mean, there are some other sort of particularly lovely sounds. This flute harmonique in the choir is a nice open.
And it's all under expression. You can do so much with that.
Having 2 enclosed divisions is just a dream.
Well, and I have to mention 2 big enclosed divisions. That choir is no small choir. It is a full. It has everything there. So,
I know.
And then some.
Oh, and the other cool thing to have on this instrument. 14 general pistons.
I noticed.
And 99, actually 100. Memory levels. So we've had a number of very fine, internationally known recitalists come in the 12 years now, almost since it's, well, 10 years, I guess, 10 years since it was installed, and I don't think anyone has had a negative thing to say about it. We've just had, and then in addition to that, the organ has been used, as you know, from concerts involving University of Kentucky ensembles. We've had the Lexington Philharmonic here. I was fortunate enough to play one of the Christmas concerts with them, and so it's been a real great addition to the community music scene.
That's wonderful.
Indeed.
So as we tour the organ, you will see that it is beautifully laid out and accessible for almost anyone, so it made this tour very enjoyable for me to film. Once inside the organ, you're first greeted by the great pipework. I've labeled most of the great pipework here, though I think there's a 4-foot flute in there somewhere that I just couldn't find. And here are some pedal pipes on the back wall being wallflowers. Next, we explored the swell chamber. Note the Vox Humana that is enclosed in a box on the back wall, also fondly called a Vox in a box. So this rank of pipes is a reed, or rather a rank of reed pipes that are made to imitate the human voice, and when you add the tremulin, has a sometimes very eerie sound that imitates a human voice. As we move around the chamber, the large wooden pipes around the wall are the 16-foot Borden, and that was originally an Aeolian Skinner rank. The strings that were reused from the original Wicks organ are there on the right. Lastly, we move into the choir chamber. On the side wall of the chamber, you can see these really large and reflective trombone resonators. And behind them, I believe, are the pipes of the 16-foot violone, And those are Haskell basses, I believe, that allow the pipe to effectively double its length and therefore lowering it an octave.